Hello and welcome to One on One. I am Cyril Stover. The civil service is seen as the engine of governance, translating and implementing government policy. Now, at the national level, the federal service is known as the Civil Service of the Federation. It is a legal entity and it's responsible for implementing government's programs and policies. Now, the quality of that service and its place in Nigeria's development is our focus on this program today, as I sit with the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Walson-Jack, OON, MNI. Thank you for coming on One on One.
I should thank you, Cyril, for inviting me. Thank you.
Right. Now, let's start this conversation on a general note by looking at the position of the civil service, why it's necessary, and its relevance in governance.
Okay. So you just defined the civil service as the engine room of government. The other day I was talking with someone and the person said, no, the civil service is the brain and the spinal cord of government. And then I added, and the blood. So that underscores the importance of the civil service to governance. And I'd like to say that the Nigeria civil service is on course, and we are striving to be what we ought to be. And if you look at our vision, Cyril, it is that we want to be a world-class civil service that delivers national goals.
All right. Well, a lot has happened to the civil service since it came into being, and successive governments have always had a thing or two to do with the civil service in terms of reforms and repositioning it to fit their goal. Yeah. It's not different this time around, but we would like to take a few specific matters which we would like you to talk about. And one of them is the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025. This is 2025. That presupposes that it's concluding. We'd like you to tell us about it, what it aims to achieve, and how you've set about achieving the goals.
Okay, so the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan, as you have rightly identified, ends this year, December 31st to be precise. And so recognizing that fact, at the beginning of this year, we decided to come up with a theme that would be like a guide to us, a reminder that this is the final lap. So we came up with a theme, final sprint, delivering results. And we said this year, 2025, is our year of accomplishment. And so for us, it is a very critical moment in the journey of the implementation of this strategy plan. We are right now striving to achieve the goals and, if possible, go beyond the targets of this plan. So we've come up with many strategies, and maybe later we'll talk about some of the strategies.
All right, so we'd like to say, well, it's ending this year. You have a theme. I know certainly whatever comes out of this strategic plan will dovetail into whatever future plans you have.
Yes.
So it's, in the real sense of it, not just going to be a short or closed case. at the end of 2025?
Oh, not at all, because as we begin to review the 2025 plan, we'll also at the same time begin to plan for the successor plan. And of course, the successor plan would go another 5 years. And it would be a plan that would dovetail from the achievements of the 2025 plan and begin to create the future that we want to see in the civil service.
Well, on your assumption as head of the civil service of the Federation, you committed to a rededicated civil service where the civil servants would be partners and would drive the policies of government. We wanted them to be dedicated to duty, loyal to the cause. Mm-hmm. But you reintroduced the civil service anthem.
Okay.
And quite a number of people are wondering, what's that? And well, we have a national anthem, and it's supposed to fire each and every citizen, but a civil service anthem, what does it strive to do?
Okay, so when we came on board, we felt that we needed some culture change. That civil service anthem was actually embedded in the predecessor plan to the FCIP 25. But somehow it wasn't really publicized enough. So all we did was to dust it up and then reintroduce it as a way to manage the change. And so it's a culture change song, and it's expected to inspire civil servants, to help them to know the kind of service that they're working in. So if you listen to the lyrics of the songs, very inspiring, and it says the whole story of the kind of civil service that we aspire to. So you have words like efficient, productive, incorruptible, and citizen-centered. And that's where we're going. We want all the civil servants to imbibe the lyrics of that anthem, to begin to have a sense of pride, a sense of belonging, and a sense that every action they take adds up to national development. We want them to see themselves as the foot soldiers, as the ones who are to accelerate development in Nigeria. Like I said earlier, if we say the civil service is the brain and the spinal cord, I mean, it says it all. They are the ones to make development in Nigeria happen.
So you do expect that when federal civil servants book on duty every morning, they're reminded of the lyrics of this anthem, or they even sing it out?
Yes. So what we did was, first of all, when we relaunched it at the last retreat with permanent secretaries, I recollect that we made it go viral on social media. And then we let people know that, look, going forward, every civil service event after the national anthem, please sing the civil service anthem. And Cyril, if you see us singing it, you will love it, because it's a danceable one, and you see civil servants singing it with pride, you know, that sense of ownership, that sense of having a very great responsibility towards one's country. I'd like to say that that anthem inspires the values of patriotism in the civil servants. And again, what we did was to ask that for all the secretariats, the offices, in the lifts, that anthem should play. We want everyone to know about the anthem, and we want civil servants to take it as their own, and not only to sing it with meaning and understanding, but to imbibe the lyrics, the attitudes, the ethics that are displayed in that anthem.
So I do suppose that this is in sync with what you call the Federal Public Service Innovation Competition. What's that about?
Okay, so in the strategy plan, innovation is the fourth pillar of reform. And what are we saying? We're saying we don't want to be left behind. The whole world is turning to innovation. Innovation is the way to go, because with innovation, you have so many benefits which every civil service ought to key into. And so we instituted the Innovation Challenge to encourage civil servants to be innovative, to be creative, to encourage them to come up with solutions to problems in the service, solutions that would cut out wastages, solutions that will help cost cutting. So the Innovation Challenge comes up every year. We recently had the 2025 edition, and it was wonderful. We had some key innovations, which we are working on to see how we can bring them on board into the service. And I recollect that from some of the innovation challenges we've had in the past, we actually have 3 innovations that are actually in the service right now. One is the Compro exam that came out of an innovation challenge. And then we have the anonymous reporting system. And we see that these innovations are actually helping us in terms of incorruptibility, in terms of seamless examinations, computer-based tests, and we look forward to getting more of these innovations on board.
All right, this should take us to other aspects of building what you prefer to call a digitally empowered civil service. I would like to look at a number of innovations, as you said.
That's right.
In line with this, there is what you call the online compendium of circulars and service GPT.
Okay, so, we are working towards a digitalized civil service. There's a digital transformation going on right now. And so we thought to bring in some digital tools that would help generally in productivity and service excellence. And so the first one you've mentioned, the online compendium of circulars, is actually a platform where we have collated all the federal circulars from 1995 to date. And this platform enables you to access any circular that you would like to see. So it's helping with research, it's helping with administrative accuracy, and it's helping with time that would have been used for research. So how does it work? The platform, there are 3 ways you can access a circular on the platform. It's either you mention the title of the circular, or the date it was issued, or you mention the author of the circular. And when I say title, of course, you may not, have the whole title, but if you are able to mention some key words. So for instance, if you want to look for all the circulars on international travels, and you just key in international travels, it would give you all the circulars that have been issued on international travels, just at the click of a button.
Right. And this is accessible to...
It's accessible. It's on our website, but it's accessible. You can find it online or go on the website of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, and you will see it under the OHCSF initiatives on the homepage.
And then, of course, there is the online academy.
Okay, let me first talk about the ServiceWise GPT.
Okay.
I think that's our flagship.
Oh, all right.
So the ServiceWise GPT is an AI tool that we have developed. We have trained on all federal civil service materials, documents, laws. So we've trained it with the 1999 Constitution, the Public Service Rules, Financial Regulations, Procurement Act, and all other, relevant documents and materials. And so it works so, it works so well that a recent survey that we did with civil servants, we find that 68% of public servants go to ServiceWise GPT daily or at least frequently. And how does it work? You go on ServiceWise GPT, you ask it a question. For instance, you could say, what is the sanction for absenteeism? ServiceWise GPT will give you a background. It will tell you the public service rule. It will tell you what is in the rule. And it would even ask you if you want more information. And as you prompt it, it gives you added information.
What if I were to require an answer to sanctions for civil servants who have compromised their privileged position? I would find that in there as well.
Yes, it will answer you. It will answer you. Maybe after this series, we'll try it out. But that also is available. It's available online, and it's also available on the website of the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. And it's open to public servants and to the private sector. It is actually a beta version, and we're still collecting and collating feedback. But it works, and it works well.
Okay, so that's the flagship of the Civil Service of the Federation, as
Yes.
you say. Okay, but then we return to the matter of the Federal Civil Service Online Academy.
Yes, so this is our e-learning platform. And this platform has been developed to ensure that civil servants are able to have continuous training, not only on the hard skills, but even the soft skills. And so what we have is that we are uploading civil servants onto that platform. And when we commence, it would be that you can go to the platform and take some courses. You don't need to be supervised. You take some courses, and it is ticked for you that you have done those courses. Because with time, we hope to use that platform to not only build capacity, but we'll also have some mandatory trainings. We would have inductions. We would have trainings that would build the capacity of civil servants in all ramifications.
It doesn't replace the Civil Service College.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Not at all, Cyril. You know, now most trainings are hybrid. So this is our own virtual training platform. Of course, we still have our Manpower Development Institutes and all other kinds of in-person trainings. So this is just to add on to what we have, because we've seen that capacity building is so critical, and we want to attack it from all sides. I say to my staff, I say, look, I want a situation where not a day would pass that a civil servant would not be having some training, either virtually or in person.
So we might safely say that rather than the structured deployment to the civil service training institutions that you have, any civil servant at any time can go online and check courses that are available online, and not necessarily wait until being nominated to go for any specific course.
Exactly.
They can do that on their own.
Yes.
All the civil servants,
All
including agencies.
Yes, with time we will expand it, because we also have even the state civil services being interested. So it's going to be something for just to help build capacity in Nigeria. But for now, we are starting with the civil servants.
Well, capacity building dovetails into a career progression. I'm not forgetting the fact that a lot of times the civil service is seen as deeply steeped in red tape, where things just get shoved into files And it's seen as this very huge machinery that creaks and squeaks. Is that changing?
That sounds very ancient, Cyril. It is changing. I'll tell you, so one of the reform pillars in the strategy plan is digitalization. And digitalization, especially of content services. And so we are running this reform that seeks to ensure that every ministry and agency goes digital, that they all deploy content service, they all deploy content services platforms that would ensure that their processes are automated as well as their workflows. And so I'll tell you, Cyril, right now, as we speak, the Federal Ministry of Health is actually launching their enterprise content management system. And that would be the 12th ministry that is now going paperless. Our goal is that come the end of the FCIP 25, all the core ministries and extra-ministerial departments would be paperless. They would all have an enterprise content management system that would ensure that those files you talk about are nowhere in the ministries and that everything would now be digital.
It takes us to the matter of career progression. In fact, even before we get to that stage, it used to be that the civil service was one of the ready places to absorb the labor market. That has changed over the years. And what has happened to recruitment into the service? I do know that quite a number of governments in Nigeria have complained openly that a huge chunk of the government's resources goes to servicing the civil service. We've heard terms like right-sizing, downsizing, which were believed to be just fancy names for retrenchment, which is what many workers understand.
Yes.
What is the status of the civil service today?
Okay, so the status of the civil service today, I can let you know, Cyril, is that we have seen that we need to have a personnel audit and a skills gap analysis to be able to answer your questions on recruitment. Because the truth is, we've had over the years so many civil servants retiring, especially from the core ministries, and there's been no consistent replacement. And so today we have gaps, but we would not know the extent of the gaps except we actually carry out a personnel gap analysis. And when you think of the fact of where the world is today, where everybody is going for digital transformation, you then see that the civil servants who were employed so many years ago may not necessarily have the skills for a 21st century civil service. And that is where the skills gap analysis comes in. Our plan is that after the audit and the skills gap analysis, we'll be able to say for sure what the federal civil service needs, and then we can go to make a request to have the civil servants we need having the type of skills that we need for the workforce.
That should take care of the question of stagnation, shouldn't it? Because one of the things you easily find in the civil service, with what was operated before now, was people spent ages in one position with little or no prospects for promotion and all that.
Yes, I believe that the audit would take care of the issues of stagnation. It would take care of the issues of absenteeism. It would take care of the issues of JAPA. It would take care of the issues of lack of skills. It would take care of so many issues, because coming from that report, we can now begin to speak to all the issues concerning personnel and their management, their deployment, and their capacity building.
Well, head of service, there's an aspect that is important in all of this, even as you strive to achieve a digital civil service. The fact is that you would still have your personnel, and they are human.
Yes.
Which brings up the question of welfare.
Yes.
How is the welfare of civil servants these days?
Welfare, I must tell you, that is one of my priorities. As you well know, it can't be easy, because most times when we talk about welfare, you have to talk about money. But we've been doing our best. I recollect that as one of the things that I launched during my first 100 days was the free eye screening, which we are carrying out in collaboration with the Tulsi Eye Foundation. That program is still ongoing, because they're moving from ministry to ministry to ensure that civil servants have good eyesight. And then recently, you must have heard in the news that the Federal Executive Council approved the Group Life Assurance Scheme for civil servants. And that is one scheme that is definitely one of our welfare flagship programs, because that scheme attends to deceased civil servants' families. So in the unfortunate occurrence of a death of a civil servant, the family gets to get a benefit to cushion that loss, to cushion the economic implications of that loss. And that scheme has been on, and we are now about to commence the scheme for the 2025-2026 policy. So that's one. Now, the other issue we are looking at is transportation. We realize that with the increase in fuel, civil servants are really hard put to get home, to come to work. And so we are looking at establishing quite soon a federal civil service transportation scheme. We are looking at electric buses, and we have gone very far with the arrangements for that scheme. And we hope that once that scheme is on board, a civil servant can actually get a card for a month and know that their transportation problems for that month is solved.
Okay. At this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll talk more about the welfare of civil servants. There'll be so much more to talk about with the head of the civil service of the Federation in just a moment. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. I'm still here with the head of the civil service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Walson-Jack, OON MNI. Now, just before the break, we were talking about the welfare of civil servants, and there are still more issues we would like to raise about that, to deal with the wage award. You left off at the point of speaking on access to health. You talked about eye care, but we still have under health, mental health of civil servants, and physical health. We'd like you to touch on that.
Okay, so let me continue with the health. So we have a wellness center that is to cater to civil servants' mental health. And Of course, you know that apart from the Wellness Center in the Office of Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, we have encouraged ministries to have their own clinics, which civil servants can attend. And from there, of course, they have referrals to their NHIA clinics. So it is obvious that the federal government takes the health of civil servants very, very, very seriously. And as you well know, we have the NHIA that caters to health insurance for all civil servants. So I think that we have a good system. It could be improved, but what we have is working. And I dare say that improvements, of course, will come along the way. Now, apart from the mental health, we're also looking at the physical health of civil servants. And so we have an organization called FEPSGA, the Federal Public Service Games. Now, FEPSGA is an entity under the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation that deals with health, physical health of civil servants. So they have, first of all, their monthly walking, jogging activity. In fact, Cyril, I'm inviting you. We'll all be there at the National Stadium come this Saturday for the edition of the monthly walking, jogging. That, of course, is very good, attended by civil servants and public servants. And we have awards. There are awards for the best teams in different categories. Now, apart from that, FEPSGA also has its annual public service games. The last games held in Port Harcourt, and it was actually an agency that won the games. Those are things that we do regularly to ensure that civil servants are fit, because we realize that for them to be effective in their work, they must be physically fit. And again, all the ministries are also encouraged to have a gym in the office for their staff to work out.
Well, one of the most important, if not, well, let me leave it at that. One of the most important aspects of welfare has to do with the income of
yes,
civil service.
I know.
And, well, I did not say more
so
about
in
that.
fact, for this area, I'd like to, especially at this point, appreciate the support of the president, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, GCFR, has in his heart the welfare of civil servants. You would recall, Cyril, that it was not too long ago that he approved the minimum wage, and thereafter we had the consequential adjustments. And since then, civil servants have enjoyed an appreciable increase in their salaries. But as if that was not enough, he also gave the wage award. I think this is a government that really cares about the health and the well-being of federal civil servants. Now, in addition to the wage award and the minimum wage, we know that there is a committee working on the harmonization of salaries. So it is something that is ongoing. At every point, government cares to know what is the take-home of the civil servant. And you know, like I say, money is not everything. So we're also looking, like I mentioned earlier, on the transportation. We're also looking at the housing. We have another flagship program here in the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, which is a Federal Integrated Staff Housing Program, popularly known as FISH. And I'd like to let you know that over the years, civil servants have been allocated houses under this program. And even now, as we speak, one of our we are actually, as we speak, working on another estate for civil servants. And very soon those houses will be completed and we'll have more civil servants getting their houses. And we know that that is something that is so critical, that when you retire, you can go back to your own house.
Speaking of which, when civil servants retire, they go back to their own homes, and what happens to them? And so one of the things we'd like to know is, what are the strategies for the exit of the civil servant who spent all his working life being a diligent bureaucrat, not engaging in anything outside working for the civil service, and at some point in time, they have to exit?
You know, I like what you said, after working, but you know what, Cyril? Even before they get to that point of exit, we are still caring for them. Very recently, we've introduced the rewards and recognition policy. And that policy is set to reward civil servants before they exit.
Okay. Not like it used to be the gold watch, which they say is meant to for you to just go home and start timing when you exit.
I think we are giving more than a gold watch, because last civil service awards, some people received vehicles, someone received a house. So I think we are upscaling. Mm-hmm. And this year, come June, that is next month, we'll be having our rewards and recognition ceremony. And civil servants who have shown outstanding performance will be rewarded. We would also recognize civil servants who have worked for a certain number of years. So there'll be the award for 15 years of service, 20 years of service, and of course, 35 years of service. So that is before they exit.
Okay. Before that, does that also include any aspect of entrepreneurial?
Yes. So now, when you're about to exit, we have what we call the exit management program. And under that program, we have the entrepreneurship scheme. We also have the agripreneurship scheme. These two schemes are meant to begin to build the capacity of civil servants who are about to exit. So if you opt for the entrepreneurship, then you go for a training that would expose you to different opportunities, different entrepreneurship, jobs. So that when you exit, you can carry on with those entrepreneurship skills that you have gained. And for the agripreneurship, it's the same. You want to go into agriculture, when you exit, come and learn. And then we also expose you to some support and encouragement to carry on that profession when you exit.
Well, in all of this, how much have you engaged with the workers' representatives in terms of their unions and organizations and carrying them along so their voices can be heard?
Okay, so every permanent secretary, first of all, engages with their unions at least once a month. That way they're on top of the issues even before they escalate. And that way the dialogue is continuous. We also are encouraged to have an open door policy, which ensures that you are interacting with the unions. And I think it's working. If you check, we haven't had so much industrial disharmony. And even the few that were trying to come up, we were able to douse the tensions, because we are engaging with the unions. We're engaging with them on all levels, at the ministerial level, and at the national level. And so I think it's a relationship that is yielding mutual benefit. Management gets to know what the issues are before they escalate, and the union is able to share with management what their issues are. And as I always say, the union is a partner in progress. Management and union are playing in the same league and in the same team.
Mrs. Walson-Jack, quite recently you were at the United Arab Emirates to attend the senior executive program. Can we talk about that and the relevance of that? I also recall that you led a delegation of heads of civil service, heads of civil services of the Federation, I mean from the states,
Yes.
on another trip to Singapore. What was the significance of that and the engagements, and what are we getting out of those?
Okay, so let me start with the trip to Singapore. So the trip to Singapore was actually an outcome of a collaboration that we have started with the heads of service of the states. And the whole idea is to build a Nigeria civil service that is effective, efficient, and able to deliver quality service to Nigerians. And so this collaboration led us to Singapore, and I must at this point appreciate the United Nations Development Program, especially under the leadership of the country representative Elsie Atafua, because we were able to go on this study tour as a means to begin to build a Nigeria civil service. And it was also an opportunity to engage and interact with a civil service that is known for excellence, a civil service that is known for their service delivery. And so we had a delegation of 20 heads of service from 20 states in Nigeria. We also had some permanent secretaries and some other critical government officials on this tour. The tour was very fruitful. We were able to engage with up to 15 government entities in Singapore, and we came back with so much knowledge. There was a lot of knowledge sharing. There were networking, interactions, and exchanges that have continued to help us to drive our own civil services, both at the state level and the federal level.
Now the UAE trip.
Okay. So the UAE trip was the idea of, it was born out of a discussion with the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, yes, Her Excellency Amina Mohammed. So we discussed with her of our desire to transform the civil service digitally. And through her good office, she was able to make this connection for us with the United Arab Emirates, who invited us for a training program in the Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government. And so we're actually still on that program. I actually had a module this morning virtually, but the whole idea was that it's supposed to be an engagement with the United Arab Emirates for us to share knowledge, share information that would help us drive the digitalization of the Nigerian public service. And so that delegation had over 20 permanent secretaries, 21 permanent secretaries. It had the chairman of the Federal Civil Service Commission and some DGs and other critical government officials. And so the idea is collaboration, synergy. Leave working in silos. We need to work together to make this transformation happen. And I tell you, Cyril, it has been a very wonderful experience. It's a program that will go on for about 3 months. It's hybrid, and that's why even though we have training sessions virtually whilst here in Nigeria, we took the trip over there and we were able to see for ourselves the areas that are relevant for a country to transform digitally.
You speak of ensuring that the Nigerian civil service is among the best in the world. And so we would at this point ask you, beyond...
No, it's Singapore.
Well, yeah, well, okay.
Nigeria, we are hoping to. I wouldn't say it's the best in the world.
Okay.
Seriously.
All right, but...
We are striving to... You know the target we've set for ourselves, Cyril. And I'll let you know. Last year, the Blavatsky School of Government in Oxford University released their public service index. And so we were so eager to know where is Nigeria. And out of 120 countries that, were assessed, we found that Nigeria came out number 90. Very demoralizing. But in Africa, Nigeria came number 9. So I said to my team, you know what? Let's take this little by little. Let us see how we can make number 1 in Africa, okay, and knock off the 0 in the world.
Wow, so that's work in progress.
Yes.
But then how do you collaborate with the civil service in the states? You're head of the civil service of the Federation. What are your interactions and your collaborations?
Okay, like I said, we started this collaboration with the states, and we're even being supported by the United Nations Development Program. So one of the activities was the study tour to Singapore.
Right.
And now, only recently, we were in Katsina State to have a retreat to begin to articulate, the structure of the collaboration that we want to have. And I think that was a very good retreat. We came away feeling that, yes, we were on the right path and that it was critical for the federal civil service to engage, synergize, and collaborate and partner with the state civil services. So it's a work in progress, and very soon we're having another activity, which would be the study tour of all the heads of service of the states and the FCT to Abuja. So the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation is driving that program, and we're expecting that in June we would have all the heads of service here for a study tour where they will interact and engage with the federal civil service in different ways, and we will share knowledge and experiences.
There's an upcoming conference on international civil service. And what's that, and where it's its place here? What's the significance of it?
Okay, so we came up with the idea to celebrate this year's Civil Service Week by inviting civil services across the globe to Nigeria. Why? To interact, to share knowledge and experiences, to network, and to begin to have that narrative, that interaction that would lead us to where we want to be. We're looking at how we can leverage on global best practices, how we can network with our counterparts in different countries, and how we can indeed put Nigeria on the map as far as public service is concerned. And I've already told you the target. We want to be number 1 in Africa.
And number 9 in the world.
And number 9 in the world.
How soon do you
to
want
start
to
with?
that?
To start with.
Okay. But how soon are you hoping to achieve that? Within the life of this administration?
Yes, I believe it can be done within the life of this administration. And just to reiterate that, we are getting the full support from the administration, starting with our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. We are getting his full support and encouragement. And I dare say that with that, we should be able to reach our target.
We've spoken at length about repositioning the civil service.
Yes.
You, as head of the civil service of the Federation, what's your personal drive and vision? What do you want to see of this civil service?
So, first of all, I'd like to share with you, Cyril, what my core personal values are, because that will be a background to what I want to see in the civil service. So my core personal values, I have an acronym for them. The acronym is HIDE. H, hard work. I, integrity. D, diligence. And E, empathy. And so what do I want to see? I would like to see a civil service, first, as the vision states, one that is world-class and leading accelerated national development. But that civil service should be one that is also digitally transformed, one that is innovative, one that is able to deliver service in a manner that the citizenry would be happy, satisfied.
On a final note, I'd just like to sample your opinion. There's a drive to get more women into leadership positions, both elected and appointed positions. I know that the Federal Civil Service, the civil service of the Federation, has been out there because a number of women have headed this service. I'd like to ask your opinion on the drive to get more women into the legislative arm of government across the country, the drive for more seats for women to be part of governance at the highest level.
Cyril, you're now taking me to deep waters. I'm not a politician, but I'll answer your question. So from my own point of view, within the sphere of my influence, which is the Federal Civil Service, I want to encourage women. I want women to be the best they can be. I want to build their capacity. I want to empower them. And so we are looking at a program for women. We're still working on it. It's a work in progress. A program that we call Inspire. We want to inspire women in public service.
Mrs. Didi Esther Walson-Jack, OON MNI, head of the Civil Service of the Federation. It's been interesting talking to you. Thank you so much for granting us this privilege. We hope to ask you to feature again on one-on-one so we can tick those boxes about the progress and the direction in which you're taking the civil service of the Federation. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyril. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
And that's our program today. We thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be back with One-on-One. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.